And joining me now from Vancouver is Bernard Pinsky. Welcome to the CJN Daily.
Glad to be here. Thanks so much for having me.
So let's skip forward a little bit to current situation. We've had COVID. So a lot of institutions have been closed or limited in our part of the world. In Vancouver, it's been a little different, a little bit more open. But you know, this Yontif, this holiday season, what impact does the kind of hybrid lockdown have on being able to control security for people who do go into synagogue or Jewish schools this fall? Can you speak to that a little bit?
Well, yeah, I can. So there's actually a twofold answer. The first is the physical security, because it really hasn't changed from. In fact, maybe it's even better, because not only do we have security guards, for example, at the synagogue Beth Israel that I go to, we had several security guards at every entrance, etc. We also had people taking everyone's names and asking whether you had vaccines and asking for confirmation of that. So I think, at one point when I came in at 9, my wife starts davening at right at 9 o'clock when it starts with Sukkot Zimra, and we're the first ones there at the synagogue. I can tell you that for a while there were more employees, non-Jewish employees, hanging around the security guards and the people taking names and all that than there were daveners, shulgoers. But that, of course, that doesn't last more than a couple of minutes. But there were lots of people who were employees. Unfortunately, it's very expensive to have all that, but it is additional security if you've got more sort of employees, if they have some training, and some of them are guards and some of them were others, but I think they all had a bit of training as to what to do in an emergency. So that's the physical side of it. So we had lots of people at the synagogue. The second,
hang on a second, but what about if you're an outside synagogue and they have services in a tent and things like that? Because that is that's going on too, not just in Vancouver, but elsewhere in Canada.
Right. So we actually have services outside the building, but generally it's in an area that's enclosed somehow or has fences, and so that you have people who are supposed to be looking and making sure that they're secured. And so hopefully even small places that can't afford, substantial security have had some training, have had volunteers with some training as to, what to do and how to look at it and how, one of the things, we've got all these different modules on security training, which are provided either by the Vancouver Police Department or other sources. And, some of them are de-escalation modules. They're not all, what to do with a shooter. There's all kinds of situations that can occur, and the training is pretty good if people are prepared to spend the time to get it, and it's available. And we've got somebody who, is keen in our director of security to basically help anyone who wants to get trained to learn how to de-escalate situations, what to look for, suspicious I attended some of these training courses myself. There was one on suspicious packages, which was put on by the Vancouver Police Department, de-escalation of situations, because sometimes it's not a shooter, it's just somebody who's perhaps mentally ill or some other issue. So there's lots of different training aspects.
So, with the rise and spike in anti-Semitic incidents, both online and around the world since the hostilities in May with Israel and Hamas, Canadian Jews have been feeling very unsafe. Many Canadian Jews are very, very worried about even displaying a mezuzah where they wear one. It's been a very difficult and disturbing few months. So how do you in Vancouver prevent things like graffiti or vandalism? Because that's, even today in Toronto, we had horrible things written on one of the highways about Holocaust and ovens, and Jews are, responsible for COVID. So how does your security, if it does at all, encompass this kind of harassment, which is not so much physical, but sort of emotional, or graffiti, mischief?
Yeah. First of all, I don't think you can prevent someone from doing something like that, graffiti. And of course, I don't think we can even prevent somebody with a car from, running down people in the street, as we've learned, a few months ago from in London, Ontario, with regard to the Muslim family. I think what you can do is document it, make sure that we have someone who is keeping records and assisting the police with perhaps localizing where things like that might happen, and being able to perhaps assist them with finding out who it might be that's doing this in case there's a pattern set, keeping it at the top of mind of police, because we've got someone who is recording all this and reporting all this and seeing with the police. I mean, they're going to spend more time and attention at it if someone is saying to them, look, we've got information about this. We want you to look at this kind of connection that might be between this graffiti and that graffiti. And so I think it's very helpful to catch perpetrators if you've got someone who has a great relationship with the police and is assisting them in doing their job, which would be to catch someone doing that. And if we can help them, and they appreciate it, but B, they're able to do their job better. So I think that's all you can do about something like graffiti. It's unfortunate. I think it's something we're going to live with, and I think all you can do is hope to give the Jewish community a more secure feeling, on the basis that they know that we're doing all we can to help prevent those things.
What are your key pieces of advice for ordinary Canadian Jews who are listening to this conversation about how they can feel safe using their community institutions this fall?
So I would say the best thing you can do is decide to get involved and organize and make sure that your community has security, people thinking about security. If you can't afford to have a director of security, CJN has a national director of security. Go and consult with him. See how you can help make your own community more safe. Go and get trained, but organize yourself through your community organizations to train people, to understand the situation better, to perhaps go work with federations or other organizations to get the community resources behind you. Because I think there's no time during our lifetimes, unfortunately, when we won't need a security presence and have to have knowledge of security in order to make our communities feel safer. So get involved, demand and spend your own volunteer time helping to secure your own community. It can be done, and it can make a big difference.
And what, in your opinion, is the biggest threat to Jewish security institutions these days? Would it be lone wolf? Would it be like a 9/11, which we just, God forbid, we just went through the 20th anniversary? What is the major that keeps you up at night?
Well, I am, from a physical security point of view, yes, it's kind of lone wolf, and we say they're the lone wolves, but they're people who are egged on by the internet hate. And unfortunately, internet hate is creating lots of people who felt isolated and they didn't feel they could do anything before. But now they're so pushed by all the hatred online that they feel emboldened. They feel they're going to have lots of support if they do something horrible to a racialized community like the Jews, like the Muslims, like Blacks, like others. So, I think internet is the biggest problem right now, and I think we've got to address it. And my solution to it is to bring in EU type of rules, which basically say to the big platforms, the social media platforms, hey, if an accredited organization tells you this is racist and it's anti-Semitic, you got to take it down. And if they don't take it down, they get fined. So they've got to be the gatekeepers because they're making a lot of money. these platforms, whether it be Facebook or Google or wherever it is, they've got to start taking down these hatred. I'm also very worried about cybersecurity. I am worried that organizations could be shut down, or if they're not shut down, that very important personal information about members of the community, about donors, about who they are and what they do and where they live, all those kinds of things, I think are not understood to be as great a threat as they are. And I'm worried that something, bigger than what happened even in Edmonton might happen to another Jewish organization. So I would recommend all organizations to get proper advice about securing your systems. And perhaps you've got Jewish people in your community who are knowledgeable and would volunteer their time. If not, then again, turn to CJN nationally. They are the ones who can help you organize yourself to get secured infrastructure for your own systems, because everyone's going to do more and more through the internet.
It's been great to meet you. Thank you so much for all your comments here on the CJN Daily.
I want to wish everyone that's listening Shana Tova, Gmar Chatima Tova. I hope it's a great year, much better than the last few years have been for the whole world and for the Jews. And that's about it.